Hello and welcome. Good morning and welcome to a very timely and pressing topic of how can districts and partners leverage the unique and flexible time during the summer and the influx of resources we're all well aware of to meet the state's dual promise of universal preschool and expanded learning. My name is Jessica Gunderson with the Partnership for Children and Youth. If you haven't worked with the partnership before, also known as PCY, since we love acronyms in education, we're an intermediary organization that really works both with communities, providers, and school districts, as well as policymakers, to improve the quality and access of expanded learning programs, as well as community schools. Before we jump into the agenda, we can go ahead and move on. I'm going to start with some housekeeping, which it seems like we've all been through so many Zoom meetings. Next slide, Araceli, thanks. So for housekeeping, as you guys all know, I love that people are already putting their name and organization in the chat so we know who's out there. We can make sure to really customize this webinar for you all. At any time, this webinar will be recorded, so you can be sure to share this with your peers. Also, we're going to be embedding links and resources throughout the presentation. Don't feel like you need to be clicking and tracking those. At the end of this webinar, we are going to send you a package, not only of all the slides, but all the resources today. So just know that all that stuff is going to be sent to you. Use the chat function for all the questions, concerns, and then two of my colleagues, Corey and Araceli, could just wave. They are our kind of tech and logistics folks, so you can chat them directly if you're having any problems, any concerns, or feel free to do it to the whole group. And we're going to have time both for small group discussion as well as a panel discussion. And so we'll be using a variety of kind of the Zoom links. So I'm going to move us on to the next slide. So before we dig into the topic today, it's worth noting that this is part of a larger game plan series. And what's worth noting is the game plan series is really targeted at those implementing programs, whether we're talking site level or district level or regional level. In addition to this range of webinars we've been hosting that have been on topics such as serving older youth in the summer, staffing shortages, partnering with higher education, there's a whole laundry list of them. We also have no cost coaching and individual support for districts, CBOs, and other nonprofits. So feel free to follow up with that as well. I just want to mention, when I say the term summer learning, when we speak about summer learning, it's really a combination of academics and whole child development. So it looks less like the traditional summer school that many of us grew up or were aware of, and much more kind of like a summer camp where we're having blended academics and enrichment in a variety of both settings and with a variety of staff. Worth noting, we have 2 more webinars coming up in May. You can see the dates here. One is really focused on family and community engagement, and the other is on program evaluation, since we're starting to get to the end, closer to the summer. And so we are so grateful today to be partnering with the Center for District Innovation and Leadership in Early Education. And with that, I want to pass the mic to my colleague, Ms. Tara Ryan, to introduce herself and her organization. Take it away, Tara.
Thank you, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of Eileen and in collaboration with the Partnership for Children and Youth. I'm Tara Ryan. I'm the Deputy Director for Eileen. I want to start with just a little information about Eileen, the Center for District Innovation and Leadership in Early Education. Eileen supports school districts to align early education and K-12 systems to ultimately realize the best outcomes for all children from early childhood through high school graduation. Eileen is currently partnered with a diverse set of California school districts to explore effective practices and policy in governance and leadership, budgeting, workforce development, and continuous improvement from preschool to 3rd grade. Embedded in this work is a focus on equity for children, families, and workforce. One core component of Dialy's work is our fellowship. Dialy Fellows are early learning leaders in California school districts who participate in a collaborative professional learning experience to enhance their capacity to strengthen public education systems, innovate solutions, and inform policy. These fellows have a diverse set of experiences and expertise, but they are all actively engaged in early learning within their districts and serve as experts and advocates, and also within community partnerships. In a little bit today, you'll hear from 3 of our current fellows in our panel discussion and in our breakout rooms. Let's move to the next slide, the agenda. We'll quickly review our agenda for today. So we're going to start with welcoming and introductions. We're in the middle of that right now. A little bit of bridging was just shared by Jessica, and then we'll have a little bit of time for just framing this opportunity for early and expanded learning. Then we'll move into our panel discussion with our 3 Dialy fellows. And after the panel discussion, we'll have 3 breakout groups. So each of the fellows that presented in the panel will move into breakout groups, and that will be an opportunity to go deeper into specific topics, have conversations, ask your burning questions, get some more specific resources and examples. And then we will close out. So first, we just like to get started and get everybody involved with a quick poll of our audience. You'll see the poll pop up in the chat. There's a link to the poll in the chat. And so really, we just would like to know, what is your role in supporting young learners this summer? Are you a community partner or service provider, municipal agency partner, an LEA, early education leadership with an LEA, expanded learning leadership with an LEA, focused on programming within the LEA, or other? So we have a lot of others so far. You can see the poll results coming in. And it looks like so far, mostly other, some expanded learning leadership coming in, some community partners and service providers, folks focused on programming, early education leadership. So a good mix today in our audience. And if you chose the other category, please feel free in the chat to provide a little bit more information about what your role is. All right, well, I think we're going to move on from the poll, but as you can see, we have a nice variety of folks in our audience. So I'm going to turn it back to Jessica to start with the framing.
Thanks, Tara. And again, welcome and good morning for those who've been joining. We're just getting started in the content, so we're so great to have you. So before we jump into the panel and the real experts on this topic, I just want to zoom out a little bit about kind of where we find ourselves. I think we all know that there's been a lot of policy and funding changes over the last year, both in response to the pandemic and a lot of agendas that we've all been working on. And so over the last 2 years, the Partnership for Children and Youth has been working with a variety of partners, including Dialy, to really think about how do all these policies, regulations, and funding work together? Because we all have the goal of serving all kids. So right here, you see the definition of California's universal pre-K definition, as well as the state's definition of expanded learning. I'm not going to read these definitions, but why I want to get grounded here is that there are a lot of terms floating out there, and it can be overwhelming. And so we actually created a glossary of terms, which we'll put in the chat. Don't need to get distracted with it now, but just know, a lot of a starting place for blending, braiding, expanding programs is getting grounded on kind of shared language and shared terms. And we're starting to blend across sectors, which we're all excited about. But again, you need some shared foundations of terms before you can get there. And I think there's really no lack of buy-in for this vision around UPK, right? It's really more where the road meets the rubber, which starts to, people diverge in kind of both where they're at and some of the challenges they're encountering. But luckily, we're going to have a lot of solutions for that. So we can move on to the next slide. historically, or at least for the past 15 years and more for many I know on the call, the sector of expanded learning. So when I say expanded learning, I mean traditional like summer after school youth development programs and our entire early learning and childcare ecosystem were often separated by different rules and regulations, right? But what we have come to like know, and some of you already knew this in your work day to day, there's actually a lot more in common with our sectors than not, right? And so this Venn diagram kind of shows you some of those similarities, right? Grounded in the community, serving the whole child, have an ecosystem of both, school district and community partners, strong family engagement component. So there's really a lot of assets and aligned goals between these sectors that can be foundational as we kind of build out these expanded programs. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so this is one that we've worked on with a few folks. Again, there's a lot of different programs. And so what we tried to do here is step back. What's that giant umbrella of kind of serving the whole child? And then here you can see a list of kind of our traditional childcare early learning programs, and then some of the expanded learning programs. And what we're collectively trying to get to is to serve more kids, higher quality programs, full day and full year, right? So that's the end goal. So the question is, how do we get there? And so this starts to help us look at these different moving parts. And then we're going to hear from our practitioners on how to get there. But we're finding that these visuals have really started to help us kind of wrap our head around getting through these conversations. And so we can move on to the next slide. We just wanted, again, for terms, it's worth noting what a full day is, because a full day in after school didn't always look like the same full day as a school day, right? And so this is pulled directly from the Department of Education. And right now, I'm just going to note a few things, right? So there's this new expanded learning opportunities program, which defines full day as 9 hours, which includes the full school day instruction. We know that both transitional kindergarten, preschool, and kindergarten can have a variety of times, though there is some stuff in Ed statute. I'm not going to get technical, but again, when we start to build out and design these programs together, we need to get a shared understanding of what does a full day or full year mean. In some places there's flexibility, in other places, the law is pretty clear. So I'm going to walk us through one more like technical piece before I turn it over to Tara. And again, the reason why we wanted to provide this as some background is we don't all come to the table with the same set of background. Many of us are experts in our respective areas, but not all of them. So here are the two primary funding sources for expanded learning programs. And many of you are going to recognize ACES, right? That's Prop 49. That's one many of us have been working on or have more experience with. And then we cross that with the newer program called the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program. And I'm not going to read all of this stuff, but what's worth noting is there are areas of overlap. Specifically, for example, the ELOP program now requires a smaller ratio for younger kids, which is something that didn't exist before. There are also some similarities in kind of some of the requirements as well. I think one other thing I want to mention is just these different programs have different priority and target student groups, which is something we're also collectively working on with keeping really an equity focus on all the work moving forward. So we have a bunch of additional resources that crosswalk and map all these programs. We don't want to bore you with that, and we really want to get to the experts, but I just wanted to provide some foundational pieces. With that, I'll turn it over to Tara, who's going to walk through one more slide on this, and then we'll break into the panel.
Thanks, Jessica. So other resources that can support creating this, full day opportunity of expanded learning are CSPP, which is the California State Preschool Program, comes out of California Department of Education, and CCTR, which is General Child Care, which comes out of Department of Social Services. And so sort of to Jessica's earlier point, within these programs, there's some overlap around eligibility, requirements, things like ratios, but there's also some differences. And then when you fold this on top of the previous slide that listed ACEs and ELOP, there's, you know, even more sort of distinctions between the different programs, but also opportunities for, you know, overlap and streamlining. And so we will have an opportunity here in some of our panel discussions and as well as one of the breakout groups to kind of talk about how do you sort of put all this together. But at this point, we just want to acknowledge, you know, navigating all these pieces and these different programs and different funding sources is complex and it can be overwhelming, but it's totally possible. And so there's really an opportunity to provide the greatest impact for your students, for their families, through collaboration, through integration with these different programs and resources. And so you'll hear a little bit more about that today. With that, we will move to our panel discussion. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our panelists. Today's panel includes 3 DIALE fellows. I spoke a little bit about our fellowship earlier, who are all overseeing the planning and ultimately implementation of universal preschool, which includes TK expansion, and including planning for this expanded learning for full day programs, including summer and beyond. Our 3 panelists will share a little bit about their experience and current work within their districts, and then there will be an opportunity to hear, this will be an opportunity to hear from a group of early education and school district leaders who will offer, you know, some tidbits from their own experience, expertise, and knowledge, and hopefully, you know, sort of shine a light on opportunities to get started, strategies, suggestions for you all in your own districts, communities, and partnerships. So I will introduce our first panelist. It's Melvetta Owens. Melvetta is the coordinator of early childhood education at Lemon Grove School District in San Diego County. Melvetta comes from a long line of educators, including her great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother, who were both teachers and principals in little schoolhouses in Mississippi. It's natural that Melvetta's heart and passion have been in working to ensure all students, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, or language, have the opportunity to succeed in school and life. She believes this starts in preschool. Melvetta has been a teacher leader, a program manager, a college and career readiness coach before her current role as coordinator at Lemon Grove School District. In that role, Melvetta is responsible for overseeing the district's California State Preschool Program, special day class preschool program, and supporting community preschool families. She's an advocate for quality early learning and care and is committed to providing high quality preschool education for the youngest learners. Melvetta has a master's in educational leadership as well as a bachelor's degree in communication and political science. Welcome, Melvetta. Our next panelist is Eileen Chen. Eileen is the Executive Director of Educational Services for Pittsburgh Unified School District in Contra Costa County. Eileen has more than 20 years of experience as an educator and district leader. She started her career as a high school math teacher, served as an elementary principal, and then she went to work in Pittsburgh Unified Central Office, where she began to oversee the elementary grades. In her current role, Eileen is responsible for grades preschool through 5th grade. Her work focuses on fostering collaboration, cohesion, and alignment between all grades. Eileen holds a BS in mathematics, as well as a master's degree in educational leadership and an administrative services credential. Our final panelist is Sandra Lee. She is the preschool program coordinator for Weaver School District in Merced County. Welcome, Sandra. Sandra has been in early education for over 15 years, including teaching, coaching, and leadership positions. She also brings a focus on public policy to her work, having interned at both California and United States capitals. Sandra also provides coursework and professional development for early education and leaders on California's quality rating and improvement system, including high quality instructional practices. Sandra is proud to be part of her Merced community, where she was born and raised by her immigrant parents who are refugees from Laos. Her own experiences have shaped her perspectives about how to create systems for change that increase cultural awareness in early education and bridges the gap from school to home for families and educators. So welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you for being here today. And we're just going to jump right into our questions. In this first question, we're going to start with Sandra, and then each panelist will have an opportunity to respond. So Sandra, please share a little bit of the context of your district, including expanded learning or other summer and expanded learning implementation, plans for this summer, et cetera.
So we are a small rural district in Merced. It's 2 elementary schools and 1 junior high. And we really just started doing expanded learning last summer with learning loss during the pandemic. And it wasn't open to younger children, like preschool age, TK age children. And so this year I'm kind of excited because we are starting registration and allowing TK children or even preschool children that will be turning 5 by the February 2nd date that they can register for summer school. And we're doing a number of things. So we really like to do our summer learning, like fun, hands-on things where whatever the teachers, their interests are, they get to be in charge of that topic for the summer. It's only a 4-week program, but what we've done is we've also bridged because that is only going to happen Monday through Thursday. And so we've collaborated with our local Boys and Girls Club that is an option for parents if they wanted additional activities for their children, that we would transport them with our buses, we would provide meals, and then we are working with the Boys and Girls Club to leave 100 spots open just for children in our district. And then that way they would get care until about 5:30 or 6. And then we are also collaborating with our local county office of ed. They just applied for a fetch-in program. And so we're collaborating with them to see how many spots we can get for our youngest learners and figuring out, what the transportation would look like from either, because our district is so small that we don't have enough facilities yet to run a full day TK program. So we're going to have to go half day, until we get grants to build out more facilities. And so then what do we do with them the rest of the time if we only have them for 3.5 hours, right? And so we are working with like a resource and referral and our fetch-in network to see how we can provide quality care throughout the day for our young learners and still have it within the district.
Thanks, Sandra. And just to clarify, Fetch-in is the Family Child Care Network.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Eileen, would you like to share about your district and your experience?
Absolutely. Good morning. Pittsburgh is in the East Bay. We have about 11,300 students. We have 8 elementary schools, 3 junior highs, 1 comprehensive high school, and 1 alternative school. We are a Title I district, and it really is important to know that, especially the community partners, because the ELOP and the number of students that we have to serve is really dependent on your unduplicated per pupil percentage, right? And so Pittsburgh's is 76%. So we really have to provide service to a large group of TK through 6 grade students. This previous summer of 2021, was really the first time that we offered a summer program. We called it Early Back. It was 2 weeks in July, and we offered it at 8 elementary schools, and it was open to our current preschool through 4th grade students. 5th grade joined junior high program. So that was the very first time we went all the way down to our young learners. Prior to that, it was only offered at 2 elementary schools for the entire district, and it wasn't open to pre-K nor TK. So that is a great opportunity for this summer. Our program, I say academic piece, is about a 4-hour program. It's a combination of a morning meeting, important to address our social emotional learning and getting our students ready. We have the academic piece of using 95% group for phonics booster bundle. We use board math. We use our current curriculum of iReady math lessons and Imagine Learning to support our English learners, right? Or our students, who need language support. So that is our piece for planning. Keep in mind, when we say planning for the summer, we talk about 2 school years, right? The end of 2021 and the beginning of 22-23. And that really is important when you talk about funding, especially ELOP funding. So for this summer, just for our elementary division, something new that we are offering, it's only a 2-week program. It's what we call our Early Back Institute. It's 4 hours of academic. We will offer a 1 hour prior to the academic piece. And then we actually had a bidders conference, you know, where we sent out for RFPs for the rest of the afternoon. And this is going to be our test case of using our ELOP funds, right? Now, ELOP, and Tara, please tell me if I'm going too long. ELOP, you know, the eligible funding is TK through 6, right? But we are offering it to our pre-K students. But come July, it's a new school year, right? Those pre-K students most likely will be TK or kinder eligible students. So now, come our 2 weeks in July, they are eligible for our ELOP funding. And I just wanted to focus on our young learners. You know, I can go more in detail if someone asks about our 5th grade, junior high, and everything else.
Thank you, Eileen. And Eileen's going to head up the breakout session later focused on aligning your funding and resources. And so as you can see, she's a wealth of knowledge. So stay tuned for more from Eileen if that's your area of focus. Melvetta, would you please share a little bit about your district's context?
Yes, thank you for having me. My role in Lemon Grove is I'm the Director of Early Childhood Education. So I really want to talk about what it looks like for the entire district, because we have 7 sites and the 6 of those sites are elementary sites. We have about 3,400 students in our district, and we also are a Title I school. So we have about 72% of our students that do receive free and reduced lunch. And we have a very high number. I think our percentage is 62% of our students are Hispanic and 16% of our students are Black. And we are located in San Diego County, but we also have the highest number of Black students of any school district in San Diego. So when we are making decisions about our early learners, I really want to hone in and think and keep that in mind. Our students speak over 13 languages. So these things need to be taken in consideration as I am collaborating with our extended learning program manager. And in our district currently, as we're speaking, because we are on spring break, we are offering 9 hours of extended learning opportunity for our TKers through 8th grade. So every student does have the opportunity right now to experience that. And I have worked really collaborated with the manager that oversees ELOP and ACEs. And we're gonna go in our breakout room, really go deep into what that collaboration looks like, sounds like, and feels like, because we did have to take into consideration what our students' needs are and where they are right now, because the staff also needed to be trained and they needed to be supported. And we're going to really talk in that breakout room about what that looks like, what that 9-hour day looks like. And we're going to learn from what we're doing right now during spring break, because we're going to have to do this again during the summer and again during all of our breaks. And what's key is that we really need to think about, as our TKers are getting younger, we're going to have to make those changes in how we're going to support and serve those students. So right now we are doing it those 9-hour days with our youngest learners. And we're going to really dive deep into giving you some ideas about what we've done to support our students in that breakout room.
Excellent. Thank you, Melvetta. Melvetta, we're going to stick with you to start our next question. Would you add anything to what you already shared about your previous experience with summer or expanded learning programming for young learners?
So in addition to, prior to, we did not include our TKers or our preschoolers. So this is our very first experience with it. We didn't even really encourage our TKers to attend our the before and after school care, because we knew that that was really a long day for them. We did have it, but we would just tell them we have other partnerships with Head Start and with our community-based homes that offer childcare. But in the last year or two, we really started to provide those opportunities for our TKers. And this is our very first experience with offering them those longer days. However, Christine, our Palomo, my colleague, is going to talk about like what skills and strategies we had to provide our staff to support those students. Because even after school, they're tired. And because they're tired, it became a management issue on how we were going to support them. So with us collaborating, we even talked about how we're going to embed resting for them during these times, and then making it play-based. So something that we're really focusing on in Lemon Grove is making sure that learning is fun, and it's really that the students enjoy coming to school and learning. So this last year, when we came back in the summer, we didn't offer it to our youngest learners. So Tara, this is our very first time right now being able to offer it to our TKers, and it's a learning opportunity for us right now. And I'm going to share how we're going to reflect, celebrate first, and then we're going to reflect and refine for the summer.
Great. Thank you, Melvetta. Eileen or Sandra, would either of you have anything to add just about your previous experience with summer or expanded learning programming for young learners?
So this is our first year that our district is going to allow it for our young learners, but I have taught it in the past in other districts. And I will say, like Melvetta was saying, you have to be prepared for everything. And they are really long days for our little ones. And so it is appropriate to have like a nap in the schedule or downtime activities. And all kids are different at this age. For many of them, it's their first social setting experience. Especially through this pandemic, many of them have never even gone to a restaurant or Target or lots of things. So everything is new to the kids. And you're going to get 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds or 4-year-olds that can go the whole day and not be tired. And then you can get some that crash right after lunch. And so, you know, having your staff be flexible, and you definitely want a routine and a schedule in place, but know that you have to read the child also. But like Melvetta was saying, have fun with it. If the kids are learning and they're having fun, it's going to be a great summer and a great year. Just kind of listen to the intuition of the kids. One thing about 4-year-olds are they are brutally honest. So they will tell you if your program needs improvements. You don't even have to do a poll or anything. They will just let you know.
Thank you, Sandra. Eileen, our next question has kind of already been touched on, but if you have anything to add, just about more specifically about the new opportunities that are available in this arena.
New opportunities for Pittsburgh, I would just say taking advantage of the ELOP funds. You know, I just want to add, when I was explaining our summer program, I want to assure you that our pre-K and TK are developmentally appropriate themed thematic instruction. It's not my academic piece, but really that is it for Pittsburgh. You know, we offered early back last year in July. This is the first time that we are testing our 9 hours in 2 weeks in June. And then, you know, as Sandra said, making adjustments. We never had anything after 4 hours. So we don't know what's going to happen, you know, when they choose to stay for any time after the 4 hours. So just for Pittsburgh, just the opportunity to have the 2 weeks in June, in addition to July. So students who attended June can also attend July.
Thank you, Eileen. Melvetta or Sandra, anything else to add just about the new opportunities that you haven't already focused on or mentioned?
I feel like this is our opportunity we have a blank canvas, and we get to paint it as we go. And so just take advantage of that and think outside of the box. We've worked with some places already, but my mind is always, the wheels are always turning, and I'm like, oh, they can do this. And like very many of you, we have the poorest kids in our school district. Everyone gets free and reduced lunch, or just free lunch, not even reduced. And so just little things, like I know there aren't opportunities for these kids to do all the extracurricular things because it costs money and there's time. And so it's kind of exciting with ELOP because now it's like, oh, can we partner with Parks and Rec where they can bring out someone to play tennis, or can we do something with the country club and they can teach the kids how to golf, little things like that. It's providing all these new opportunities that we've never had because we never had the kids for that amount of time. Now we have them for that amount of time. So it gives me a bigger canvas to paint.
Speaking of that, Sandra, this question came up. Is there anything that any of you would share about how parents are receiving this, this opportunity for the 9 hours for this truly expanded learning opportunity? Sandra, would you add anything about that? And then Eileen and Melvetta, anything to add on?
So I think this opens up a new door for parents too, right? Like my best friend, she has 3 kids under 5 right now. And she was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do next year. It's so stressful. I can't go to work because childcare costs so much. And I'm like, hey, with TK, it's actually a 9 hour. And she's like, what? Like, and so I kind of just saw her and she's like, I can go to work and just pay for childcare for the baby if there is TK available, and it solved that for her. So I said, call your school district, let them know. But I think that's the new thing, is that parents just don't know yet, right? They don't. And so our job is to provide the best opportunities available for the kids and make it easier for the parents. And so just getting that information out too, that, hey, these are, your choices, and they can build upon lots of different things if they wanted to.
Eileen or Melvetta, anything to add to that? Similar situations in your district? Okay. So switching gears a little bit, let's start with Sandra. What is important to consider when planning for summer or extended learning programming for young children? We've already talked a little bit about developmentally appropriate practices, and you can share a little bit about that. And another question that came up was also thinking about some of the sort of challenges that might come up with staffing for these programs, but really just kind of each of your own experience and expertise around the programming, planning for the programming for young learners.
I think just lots of PD and training for the staff so everyone's on the same page. It's very much like raising your own child. You got to get all your parents on the same page. And so you want all your staff on the same page. I always say, like, when you go to Disneyland, there's an overall feeling that you get when you get there, because they branded it. So you kind of want the same, for your school district, that we are greeting all the children by name as they come in. Little things, we're getting down on their level. And there are things that when you teach really little ones, you have to think about everything. You are just like expert at everything. And so, just knowing that you're going to be looking at safety and supervision and what to lock up. And there are just things that I've seen throughout the state that I'm like, oh, you don't take your kids to the bathroom and supervise them. They're like, no, we just let them go. And it's like, well, when they're 4, best practice is to watch them by the door, sit there, and not sit there, but stand there and count with them. And little things like not leaving hand sanitizer on a low shelf, those are all those little things that you can do to make sure that the safety is there. So the supervision is there, and your ratios, making sure that your staff know that they have to be actively supervising the kids and playing at the same time. It's a balance, right? But those ratios are really, really important. I've had classrooms where I've seen 2 adults and then you have 3 adults, and that makes a big difference. And we've even gone to 4 adults in my classroom this year, and that made a huge difference because my kids were younger and because they weren't in social settings. Many of them weren't even potty trained yet, to be quite honest. And we had to work on that with them. And so it was just a whole different year this year, and that's okay. That's part of their learning and development at this age. So don't get frustrated with it. Don't get frustrated with the parents. They want help too. And so, we're just here to help and assist the best we can also.
I was on mute. Thank you, Sandra. Melvetta, would you add anything to that? Considerations for planning for programming?
The only thing that I would add is specifically in my district, we also have students with disabilities that are attending these programs after school and currently during our spring break. We have both mild mod and mod severe students that are spending these 9-hour days with us. So when we're, in addition to what Sandra was saying, is that we also need to have support for those students as well. We have to make sure that for us, we have SABAs, and these are classified employees that are able to do that toileting and that diapering, and to be able to support students that can get overstimulated very quickly. So we have to make sure that we're thinking about all students and where they are at, and that we provide those inclusive opportunities, because they need to be with their typical developing peers as well. But on the flip side, our typically developing students also need to be exposed and to learn from different students as well. So that is something I would just add to it, is that think about your students with disabilities and how you're going to support and serve them during those 9 hours as well.
Thank you. And then I know we're going to go to breakout groups in a minute, where we're able to have sort of more engaged, open conversations and discussions, and also have specific questions answered. So one of our questions was, what does collaboration look like in your district? But I'm going to hold that for now, because Melvetta is really going to focus on that in her group. And I'm just going to, I think we're going to wrap up this part of the panel questions, and I'm going to ask each of our panelists just like one sentence, sort of a brief response, but do you have one piece of advice for the field that you would share? And then we'll go into our breakout groups. Eileen, let's start with you.
One sentence. I'm gonna make this a really long sentence. And I would just say, really reach out to your community to determine the needs. Reach out to your community partners, because we know with ELOP and all the students that we have to serve, there's not a plethora of one company that can provide the service for all the students we have to provide access to. So it is a partnership. And not only, we have a question in our LCAP survey of what our parents want, right? Don't forget to reach out to your kids, right? Because they're the ones that are going to stay for the additional 4 or 5 hours. Parents might have an idea of what would be great for the students, but the students really know what the activities that are going to keep them engaged and wanting to come back.
Thanks, Eileen. Sandra, one key piece of advice?
I would say collaborate together with your early ed department and then the elementary. I've kind of seen them go separate, and this is that opportunity for them to work together. They're already experts in the field within your community. Just find them and then start networking. You guys are the ones that are going to get everything started. Trust me, no one has a game plan, but you might be the game plan. That's it. And just work together and start networking.
Thanks, Sandra. And Melvetta?
Okay, in addition to everything that was just said, I know we keep saying collaboration, but I'm going to go one step further. You need to go on a field trip. You need to go into a preschool classroom or a TK classroom and see what's going on. Because if you've never been in a classroom and seen how these students learn, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to do this planning. So one sentence, go on a field trip, experience it.
Great advice from all of you. Thank you. So just want to thank our panelists for all the valuable information they've shared so far, but they're not finished yet. We can switch to the slide with the breakout topics, please. We're going to move into breakout groups in just a minute. There'll be 3 options and you'll self-select your option. I know they've been pasted in the chat, and then we'll put them up in a minute. So you'll select the room to attend. All rooms will be recorded and shared after the event. And then If you need help moving to a breakout room, just let us know in the chat and we can support you. We're planning for about 30 minutes in the breakout, 35 minutes or so in the breakout groups, but we'll kind of stay flexible since we do have enough time. So we'll stay flexible and let you know if there's any changes. So the 3 topics, breakout group 1, which will be with Melvetta, is around leadership collaboration, focused on that collaboration between early education and expanded learning, which she talked a little bit about. And then Sandra will be in the room talking about developmentally appropriate programs. So opportunity to go deeper into that topic. And then finally, Eileen will be in room number 3, focused on funding and resource alignment. And she can go deeper into some of the information that she started sharing in the panel. So with that, I think we're ready to move into our groups. Is there any other instruction we need to provide? All right, we'll see you back in a little bit. Christine just shared so much about their excellent partnership and just so many strategies and suggestions and best practices, and really just, I mean, separate from just the actual content of what they're partnering on, just the dynamic of your partnership, Melvetta and Christine, I think is really valuable. So I learned a lot just by listening.
Check out our web page. You can find everything that we've done so far this year, all of our webinars, all the resources, everything is on our summer page. And then also brand new, just opened last week, I want to say, is the TA Hub. And so through that TA Hub, you can schedule a free 15-minute coaching session about summer, about anything that you have, any questions you have for summer. So I really encourage everyone to take advantage of it. It's going to be with PCY and some of their partners. And so just people who are very, very knowledgeable about summer. And so just how great that you can get your very specific questions answered. So, oh, look, and I see that Jessica is back in the room. If Jessica would like to take over.
Yeah, no, I think this is exciting because it's almost 11:30. So everyone's going to have an extra 30 minutes to go take a walk, nourish themselves. I just wanted to, again, thank our speakers. These are some of the most forward-thinking leaders in the field. And I love sharing also the vulnerabilities of trying new things. And that's where we all are. A lot of this has not been done, even though we have a strong foundation that we're building on. So as with all webinars and Zoom calls, this is all going to be recorded. You weren't able to attend all the breakouts. We will be collecting those decks and sharing them out to your colleagues. And then we'll be continuing to do events with Dial EE in the future, because I really appreciated Melvetta bringing up inclusivity and our special ed students. That is something that the expanded learning field, I'm just speaking for myself, that has come up in almost every webinar we've had. So it was just another reminder to me that we need to provide more space and more resources to really work on that together. And it's something that, because it's been a difficult task for some folks, I feel like it gets pushed to the side. So I wanted to just call that out. And we will be putting a survey in the link, but we also just appreciate hearing from you directly. And I need to thank our funders too. So Heising Simons and CCEE, we couldn't do it without their support. But again, go enjoy some extra time, and we'll be sending you an overwhelming package of links and resources and slides that hopefully you can use with your colleagues and partners. And so we don't all have to keep reinventing the wheel, but we can really build off all these shared assets and resources. So goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Be in touch.